to Lil SiS BookClub's Meet the Author. Today the book we are featuring is called Fake ID by Lamar Giles.
Hello all.
Nice to meet you.
It's great to meet you.
Us being a mother-daughter book club, we try to do everything from the daughter's perspective and then the mom's perspective, and then we come together and have our joint perspective. So Adia's going to kick off the interview, and then I'm going to follow up after her.
Sounds good.
Where did you get the inspiration to write the book?
Well, I got inspiration from two places. One, I read this book called Inside Witset, which was written by the man who started the witness protection program. And he told all these crazy stories about the problems they had with criminals back in the 60s when they were first getting going. They moved these guys to these small towns, but they wouldn't change their behavior. So they would take these big city organized crime attitudes and start to slowly corrupt a small town with their answers. And the agency would have to jump in, give them a new identity, and move them somewhere else after they've been chastised for breaking the rules. And so I thought that was really an interesting story and enough of a foundation for me to build on and come up with some really good scenarios of what happens when you put these sorts of people into small town life. The second thing, I really wanted to write a black male hero. Growing up, something I never saw in books. And for the longest time, I wondered if I could even be a writer if there weren't characters that looked like me. And so my goal in writing this book was to create a really tough, excuse my language, but big-ass hero that was a black boy. And that's what I ended up doing.
In the book, Nick/Tony is a very detailed character because, like, when you wrote his story, you can kind of get a grasp of what Nick/Tony's life was like. Was this character based on anyone you knew?
Not anyone in particular. Obviously, I probably don't know people that are in witness protection, or maybe I do, and I just don't realize they're in witness protection. But in order to kind of get the dynamic and the sort of family interactions that might happen in that family, what I thought about was military families. I grew up next to an army base and met a lot of kids whose families moved all over the world. And I knew a little bit of the dynamic of they're always in a new kid in a new place. But I sort of flipped it because the military kids, they can at least say they're proud of their parent for defending our freedom and fighting bad guys. Whereas Nick's dad is the exact opposite. So I was able to take a situation I knew and sort of flip it around and get the sort of details that a kid like Nick might have in their life based on some kids I knew growing up, but no one in particular.
I love to write personally, I write all the time.
Good.
And I want to share my love of writing with all the other kids my age. So, could you tell our viewers out there who might be about my age, what are some good reasons for them to write?
Well, some good reasons for people your age to write is everyone has a story. And so writing is one really great way to express that. But people also express their stories in art, songs, poems. It doesn't necessarily have to be the sort of writing I do, but I think that's a really great way for people to express themselves. And also, too, it's just a very valuable skill to have. You're always going to be writing things throughout your life. Maybe not books, but definitely, you may have a job someday where you have to write. And the better writer you are, the more opportunities will come your way because you'll be surprised how many people don't like to write. And it's served me well throughout my, obviously, writing career. But then when I had a day job, my corporate jobs too. Whenever they wanted to do a newsletter or something of that nature, they always came to me. No one else wanted it, and it allowed me to move up a lot quicker than a lot of my peers. So, tell your story and expose yourself to many, many different opportunities that you might not get normally. Since I was about your age, I actually started when I was about 8 years old. We had this thing in my school called the Young Authors Competition. I don't know if that's something that still happens, but everybody in my grade had to write a story, and it was judged, and I ended up winning for my class, my fourth grade class. Now, granted, I look back on it, I was probably one of the few kids that actually took it seriously. But the thing is, just that accolade really pushed me like, wow, I'm kind of good at this. And I kept going. I read a lot, and I really wanted to be Stephen King as a kid, which was kind of a weird thing for a 9-year-old to say. But I was probably a little bit strange at that time too. So I, I wanted to be Stephen King, and I just kept going, kept going, kept going. And eventually, I got to an age where I decided I would try to get paid for it, and I've been pursuing that ever since.
You think one day you'll get paid for your writing? You're good.
I'm like a great writer.
I'm good, and confidence will serve you well. No, trust me. It's one of those things where a lot of people want to do it, but every year someone's going to drop off because they lose interest, they find something else to do, they think it's too hard. There's nothing wrong with that, but if you're dedicated, you'll outlast 90% of it. And it's just a matter of increasing your skill to the point where people pay money for it. And that'll come as long as you keep at it.
Me and my mother loved your book, but at the end, it left it open for a sequel. So I'm just going to be asked the question that I've been dying to know. Is there going to be a sequel to Fake ID?
Well, this answer may not satisfy you. I hope so. I have a second book coming out that's not related to Fake ID. And the reason why is when I sold Fake ID, my publisher only signed me for one book. And Fake ID hadn't come out yet when it was time to discuss a second contract. And the way publishing works, if they don't buy it as a series initially, they don't want to take a risk on buying the second, third, fourth book when they don't know how the first book's doing. So when it came time for me to write my second book, I needed to get another contract. Publisher wanted to see something different. However, Fake ID's been doing fairly well, and so I just signed a contract for my third book. Thank you. And we don't know when that third book's going to be. We probably won't even talk about it until June or July. But I'm hoping that when we have those discussions, it'll be about a Fake ID sequel because I have a really good idea, and I would very much like to continue Nick's story.
Well, we hope so. So who do you enjoy reading? You said you wanted to be the next Stephen King, but who influenced you, and who do you enjoy reading now?
Tanana Reed too.
Oh, yes.
And her husband Stephen Barnes.
Yes.
Really, they were the main inspiration for me as a teenager because by the time I was a teen, I hadn't seen many books with people who looked like me, and I was getting really discouraged as if this industry wasn't going to accept me. And I discovered Tanana Reed's Dudes, My Soul to Keep in like 98. I was 18, and it blew my mind. And then I found out she was married. Well, at the time she wasn't married to Stephen Barnes. I think that came later. But I discovered Stephen Barnes, and a couple years later they were married. And it was like, wow, these are two of my favorite writers, and they're in the same house. It was just crazy to me. And I've just followed their work. Really enjoyed Brandon Massey. I'm not sure.
Yes. He's like one of the originals in my mind.
Yeah. He was my mentor. Like he gave me my first like big time credit by buying one of my stories for his Dark Dreams anthology.
I didn't know
that.
Yeah,
I mean all three of his anthologies. And Brandon was really, you talk about people helping you get your foot in the door. I mean, he kind of like shoved my whole body in it. Brandon's an excellent guy. I still talk to him to this day. But enjoy his work. F. Paul Wilson is a writer that I really enjoy. Ellen O. She writes these really great Asian fantasies. Meg Medina, she wrote this book called Yaki Delgado Wants to Kick Your Ass. A very powerful book about bullying. Matt De La Pena, he wrote this book called The Living that I really enjoy. I could give you a list of it.
When we lived in this area, I used to do a lot of literary events and things of that nature. And I did a campaign called Black Males Read because I was talking to someone and they told me, well, young African American men are reluctant readers, and that was the first time I've ever heard that term. What do you think about the state of young black men reading, and how can we encourage more young black men to read?
actually going to dovetail that into something I was recently involved in, which you may have seen online, called "We Need Diverse Books." Just the recognition we've gotten all over the world by voicing the opinion of needing books with more diverse characters to get kids like me who didn't see people like me in books growing up. We want to get them involved because we think that's the main issue. Of course, kids will be reluctant every time they look in a book and they see themselves as the sidekick or the comic relief, or like me reading a lot of science fiction and fantasy and horror growing up. Black guys died. But I'm not convinced that black males are just reluctant readers. I think it's a matter of finding the right books.
Was it more? Do you think it was more difficult for you to sell fake ID because your main character was an African American male?
Possibly, and I say it that way because the fact of the matter is, it's hard to sell a book. Period. And no one rejects a book and says I'm rejecting it because your character's a black male. When your book is rejected by a major publisher, they're going to say it's the story just didn't reach them, or there's a pacing problem. So, but I'll say this: the editor that bought it was a minority too. She's Asian American. So I mean, there may be something to that. The fact that the gatekeepers tend to be more white, male, female, and may not relate to the type of characters that relate to us.
Right.
And I don't know if that's necessarily prejudice. It's more just human nature. Not knowing. And so that's another thing that we're working on is like kind of push the message that we need to have more diversity among the black people.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where we're trying to get everyone to see there's value in multiple kinds of stories, and not just the traditional white male, white female, able-bodied hero.
Right.
It's going to be a tough transition. Like one thing I always say, and I'm actually going to be in New York at a conference, and one thing I want to bring up is just we might need to look into having some diversity programs with each publisher. The major networks, television networks, do it. So it may be something to look to institute.
And having watched how African American literature has ebbed and grown, I think there is a market of people like me who I enjoy some street fiction, but I prefer the Terry McMillans, the Tanner Reed Dudes, the Stephen Martin, because I love their series with Blair Underwood, yes, Castanegra and all that.
That was actually the book. If there was a fiction book that served as inspiration for Fake ID, that series was it. And I don't know if you noticed, the principal in Fake ID is Principal Harvey. And I actually asked Tanner Reed and Stephen Barnes if it was okay for me to keep that in. I was like, I wrote it in as kind of a homage to Tennyson Hardwick, and they were cool with it, so it's still in there. So it's a little Easter egg if people didn't know. So I have a film agent, and we've had a couple of close calls that didn't pan out. But so I mean, trust me, I would not be opposed to it. If anything, We Need Diverse showed me. We Need Diverse book showed me that there's so many people in the world that crave the same things we crave.
Yes.
And again, I'm going to bring that up when I talk to the industry people at the end of the month. Like the publisher or production company that decides to corner that market is going to be flush for a really long time. So someone's going to have to make the decision to stop doing things the old way and look at these 45% of people who aren't represented in your work right now.
And what's next for the We Need Diverse books?
I'm not allowed to talk about a lot of it just yet. Like we're gonna make some announcements. We're gonna make some announcements at BookCon, and then once we make them there, I mean they'll be all over the internet. But we have some big things in store.
Back to Fake ID by Lamar Giles. In the book, Nick/Tony's mom leaves. And as a mom, that was really hard for me because I know the sacrifices I make for my children and how important they are to me. How did you make his mama leave?
I'll preface this by saying I hope I get to continue the story. There's more there. But I felt like she was planning to run with him initially. I think she wanted to take him, but I think when she had the argument with his father, and he brought up the fact that it's going to be dangerous, she couldn't deal with the dad anymore. But I think she saw some good stuff happening with Nick that she didn't want to interrupt. and I think she just needed a break. I don't know if that's necessarily the right decision, and I don't think that a lot of mothers would agree with me. But this woman's been through some stuff where she kind of needs to clear her head, and I don't think she's going to feel good about the decision now that she's made.
She run off with the man. You don't have to tell us.
No, you know what? No, she didn't run off.
Good,
She didn't run
okay.
off. She's cleared her head somewhere, and maybe making some plans to correct some mistakes. Like I said, I don't think she feels as good about the decision as she thought she would. But they live in a world where people disappear, and she's gonna have to make some precautions to make sure that what she's done doesn't come back to bite everybody. I'll leave it at that.
Because as we were reading, I kept asking Adia, I said, well, I wonder, because she was so miserable the entire time. And I kept asking Adia, why do you think she stayed? Why do you think she stayed? And I think we both agreed that she stayed mostly for Nick/Tony. But when she left, I was like,
I mean, and I think personally, the way I see it, like up until maybe the last day, she was probably thinking of taking him too, and he would have gone. But she saw that she thought he was having a normal life. She didn't know that all this other stuff was going on with him.
Right.
And she saw the situation with Rhea. He's finally making friends, possibly a girlfriend. And even though the dad is kind of a jerk, if he can stable out here, then Nick has the potential to finish out high school like a normal kid versus being on the run with potential killers after them, not knowing that he's in danger here too. So I mean, I think that's the real tragedy of it. Is she thought she was leaving him in a better situation, not knowing his situation was just as bad or worse.
And I thought maybe because she saw that he was covering for his dad, that was another reason too why she was like, well,
I didn't take it that way. I think she was a little miffed about it. I mean, it was a little irritating, but I don't think that played into the final decision of, you two just enjoy each other. I think at the end she just wanted him to have what she thought was a normal life. She doesn't know about Whisper Town. She doesn't know the danger that's really going on in this area. So, like I said, that's the tragic part. She thought she was leaving to a better fate, and really, Nick doesn't have a smooth road ahead.
Oh, wow. Well, we hope to see that sequel soon.
My book, Fake ID, is available at all major booksellers. Even if they don't have a copy in store, you can ask someone to order it for you. You can also order it online at all the major booksellers, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, IndieBound. You can reach me on Twitter at LR Giles. So it's L, my first name, R, middle initial, Giles. And I'm LR Giles Writer on Facebook.
All right. I know you're going to do some traveling this summer. Can you tell us where you'll be?
Sure. I'll be in New York at the end of this month, May 30th and May 31st at Book Expo America and BookCon. And then I will be in Los Angeles, July 31st through August 5th for the Society for Children's Book Writers and Illustrators Conference. In September 13th, I think I'll be at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. for a panel on teen authors. And then I'll be doing some stuff in Richmond, Virginia the week in October 19th and 20th. James Rivers Writers.
We'll put all the details in the comment box below so you'll know where you can catch up with Mr. Giles and you can get your own autograph.
Pleasure to do this interview.
Thank you so much. Please continue to follow us on our website, LilSisBookClub.com, and hopefully you'll see more of us on the road, meeting authors we love. Signing out.